scummy mother. Jesus
Whoa.
Christ.
Oh, you?
Oh, me? Yeah. Go ahead.
You know what?
Call me a scummy mother. Step out here. I'll knock your ass out. You. I'll make your life a living hell living here, cat. You're a thief.
Fuck you.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
What is going on at YouTube? Lamont at large coming to you today from Plains Township, Pennsylvania. And that video that you just watched in front of you was the video of James and Lisa Goy being murdered by their neighbor James Spade for the crime of shoveling snow on his property. Now let's go over a quick history of this feud between both of these neighbors. Now, according to online statements from the neighbors about these two individuals, this was a, I guess you would call it a rivalry between two neighbors. They had oftentimes got into arguments in the street. They did not like each other. And as you can see in the video, it appears that James Goy really did not like this guy at all whatsoever. So who is James Spade? Okay, so if you look him up online, he was a military man. He was in the United States Navy. I believe he has served some time in the National Guard. At the time of his death, he was a engineer at a waste treatment facility. Now, if you go online and you looked at his LinkedIn, before that, his previous jobs were environmental engineer manager at the Pennsylvania Department of Environmental Protection. Before that, he was a project engineer for the Carroll Engineering Corporation. And before that, he was an engineering technician and heavy equipment operator for the United States Navy. He had a master's degree in water resources and environmental engineering from Villanova and a bachelor's degree from Wilkes University in environmental engineering. So you have a man that is a military man, according to his neighbors, other than the argument with the Goys, a pretty quiet guy, kept himself, like running marathons, didn't have any children from what I can see. A military man, well educated, had a fantastic job. So you got to ask yourself, what would possess a man who, by all intensive purposes, led a quite unassuming life, but went out in such a crazy, just insane way. The words escape me describing the video that I seen. Video has been taken down from YouTube and social media in general. That's why I had to edit it, just because of the vulgarities that were being said in said video. So asking yourself, what would possess a man to come out of his house with a gun, shoot his neighbors, go back to his house, grab his rifle, and finish the job per se? Well, I'm gonna look at the video. After looking at the video 3 or 4 times, I mean, first of all, the Goys left behind a 15-year-old son, and I feel terrible for their family. I feel terrible for the son that is going to grow up now. He's being raised by his grandparents. He's got to grow up without his mother and father. So a normal man appears to me on video to have been pushed way too far. And if you can see in that video, I mean, I call it the way I see it. You can go watch another YouTube channel and they can dance around the subject all they want, but at the end of the day, from what I seen, I mean, the Goys looked like possibly they were like the neighborhood bullies. I mean, they bullied this man for a very long time. I can't confirm if it was years, but it was a long time. The way you speak to your neighbor in that manner is beyond me. I live in a van. If I don't like my neighbor, guess what I do? I put in my key in my ignition and I turn it on and I go. But you got a lot of these people in these houses, in these neighborhoods right here, that they've been living here for 25, maybe even 30 years. And if you don't like your neighbor, you try to be cordial as possible. Maybe your neighbor has a loud car, you don't like him, he doesn't keep his yard maintained very well. Hey, you know what? This is not a perfect world. But to speak to a man, to say F you, to threaten him, and let's not forget, when James Goy was clearing off the snow off his car, because at that time, Pennsylvania, this area right here, received 2 feet of snow. And he had this little like snow duster thing that he was wiping the snow off of his car. And he threw it at him. So the argument came up about that day was because James and Lisa Goy, well, at least James Goy, was shoveling snow, clearing his driveway, and he was throwing the snow onto Spade's property. Spade told him, hey, can you please not throw snow on my property? And then that's when the video starts about James Goy cussing him out. Lisa Goy's cussing him out. And you can see in the video when James Goy starts shaking his fist and threatening him, saying, quote, I'm going to make your life a living hell. I think Spade said, that's it, I'm done. I'm absolutely done. He went into his house, grabbed his pistol, came out, and then, of course, Lisa Goy, what do you do when you see a man coming outside with his gun? Well, instead of saying like, oh, hey, take it easy, we don't want any problems, she told him, quote, go ahead. And unfortunately, he went ahead and shot and killed both of them. So he empties the clip in his gun, and instead of James Goy going to the defense of his wife, he, like a typical bully, you know, you turn around and you run. He turns around and he runs to the driveway. Spade goes into his house, comes back out, and finishes the job. This is the street where that shooting occurred. And I believe this right here was Jeffrey Spaide's house right there. And this was the Goy's house. It looks like a duplex right there. It would be on the left. A white door would have been their door. And then right here, this is where Lisa Goy would have been shot and killed, and James would have died right there in that driveway. Yeah, right there. And then this was the garage where Spade came out of with that rifle to finish the Goys off. The people that I guess have been giving his life, have been making his life a living hell for many, many years now, I guess. I mean, it's not clear how long this feud has been going on. It's not even clear how long they were neighbors. But yeah, that's something else, ain't it? It's kind of surreal being here, seeing that murder occurred, and this is exactly where it happened. And here we are at the cemetery to conclude yet another video. Most of my videos are often concluded at a cemetery. Touching on James Spaide's life really quickly, let's talk about the Goys. And honestly and sadly, there's really nothing to say about the Goys, simply for the fact that there's really no genuine online information about neither. Now, I could have done an ultimate deep dive on them, but for the most part, I couldn't even find online what they did for a living. No information, a very I can't say secretive couple, but just all of the information online is just about their murder and how publicly it was displayed. The video, in theory, should have never been leaked, or at least leaked that quickly. However, the neighbor whose surveillance camera captured the video, I don't know if they sold the video to somebody or they just went ahead and uploaded it. But the Goy family was very, very upset to see that video online. And actually, I got a quote here from a man by the name of Chris Goy. I don't know how he's related to James, but he says this: to anybody who is out there on social media online showing the video, quote, "rot in effing hell," unquote. And then he goes on to say, they had a 15-year-old boy. Have some respect. I only wish that James and Lisa Goy could have heeded those words before lashing out and their vulgarities at James Spade. Now, I'm not trying to make it appear that I feel sorry for James Spade. This guy, ultimately, at the end of the day, is a no-good murderer. And that's it. That's how his life ended. He lived 47 some odd years of his life as a good dude, and the last 3 minutes was a murderous, foaming at the mouth killer. And that's all there, and that's what he will be known forever as. But when you watch a video, like I said, you watch a video of them talking to somebody like that, it's just, I'll say this, when I see that quote, "rot in effing hell," and you couple that with the fact of how James Goy, how he was talking to James Spade, how he threatened him, how he said F you, calling him a queer, and telling him he was going to make his life, quote, "a living hell," unquote. You can see how that family looks into the eyes of the everyday man and woman. The apple doesn't fall far from that family tree. Rest assured. Rest assured. There is no winners at the end of the day in this story. All there are is just ultimate losers. And I was not able to find online where either person really is buried. All because a person has a find a grave does not mean that they're buried there at all. That does not mean that whatsoever. And listen, I'm just going to end the video here, and I'll just say this. There is a time and a place where people get heated, people get into arguments, people talk disrespectfully to one another, and expletives, vulgarities, so forth and so on are said. At the end of the day, and this is pertaining to people that have a home and live in the neighborhood, you have to live next to your neighbor, whether you like them or not. Hopefully you live next to a neighbor you like. But I know some of you out there, some of you guys live next to somebody you don't like. And for the Goy family that does not want this video to be played on social media, I totally understand. I know it hurts. Okay, they did not deserve to be murdered. However, they had a slight culpability in their own murder just by the simple fact that, listen, you don't know who you're dealing with at the end of the day. You see a mild-mannered, quiet guy. He's in the military. He has a higher-end job. You don't know who he is. You don't know he could be a complete and utter psycho. And it appears that that's what James Spade was. He was a complete and utter lunatic. That lunatic was inside of him, and it took the nastiness that was coming out of Lisa and James Goy towards him to snap. And it's sad that, for all intents and purposes, James and Lisa, they could be very nice people, and I could be wrong. But sadly, the world out there will forever know them as the couple that got killed for shoveling snow on another man's property, and all of the cussing and the bullying that went on. And I don't blame the family for not wanting that video out on social media, because it makes them look like awful people. And I'd like to think they're not. I'd like to think that maybe it was a bad day. Like I said, 2 feet of snow fell on that part of Pennsylvania, and maybe the snow, everything is cold, it's miserable, you can't get out, you can't go anywhere, you can't drive anywhere, cabin fever starts. Maybe that's what happened. Unfortunately, that video is going to be out there on social media forever, and it just paints them in a very bad light. And I would just tell this to conclude the video to anybody out there: please, you never know who you're messing with. Whether it comes to a person you know or a person you don't know. They cut you off in traffic. Somebody at your job is being a jerk. At the end of the day, rest assured you do not know who you're messing with. And I do believe that even though that video is rather difficult to watch, and it is quite graphic, and I watched the unedited version, and I'm sure it's all out there online, it truly is a teaching moment. It truly is a teaching moment, because that will possibly show somebody else and prevent that from happening again. This could happen. It should have never happened. James Spade should have just turned around and went in his home and just locked the door and just said, screw them. Screw them both. But he snapped, and anybody is capable of snapping. So at the end of the day, rest in peace to both James and Lisa Goy. And, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? All right, guys, Lamont at large. I'll catch up with you later. Peace out.